Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Why No One Smokes in Sweden. So apparently this is news to me. I'm finding out that no one smokes. Good for them. Smoking, I think it's bad for your health. So maybe that's the reason. But let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
Is Morten. He's 20 years old and has just picked up a few fresh packs of snus at a shop in central Stockholm on his lunch break.
I have been snoozing for a long while now, and I just think it's relaxing.
Snus is a tobacco product that comes in small pouches. It's tucked under the lip to get a nicotine buzz. And depending on who you ask, snus is the reason why Sweden has just about quit smoking.
Isn't it the same? It's still nicotine.
Only 5.6% of Swedes smoked in 2022. That's the lowest percentage in Europe and within touching distance of the 5% target where a country can declare itself smoke-free. Swedish smoking rates have fallen by over half in the past 15 years.
Wow.
Today, only 5% of men and about 6% of women smoke. But about 15% of the population uses snus, mostly men, but women are a fast-growing market. Women tend to use nicotine pouches, a relatively new product that appeared less than a decade ago. Think of them like snus, but with no tobacco. Instead, they're made of plant fibers combined with nicotine. I'm at Nicoteket. This is a nicotine store. In a store like this, you can find a veritable plethora of nicotine products. Vapes, nicotine pouches, and traditional snus.
That's crazy.
One thing you won't find here are cigarettes. Snus has been part of the Swedish popular culture for more than 200 years.
Isn't that like a very old product? That's very old-timey to me.
Now, it's making a comeback. Snus fans say Sweden's centuries-long experiment provides the roadmap for the rest of the world to finally quit using cigarettes. But policymakers and health advocates are divided over its use. In the EU, there are hints legislators could move to ban tobacco-free nicotine pouches. That would represent a severe economic threat to nicotine pouch makers.
It depends how you look at it, like is the problem the nicotine or the smoking?
Products like vapes and snus were once seen as competitors to big tobacco's core business. But these days, they're embracing them as so-called reduced-risk products. Last year, global tobacco giant Philip Morris International bought Swedish Match, which owns several domestic snus and nicotine pouch brands.
It's time to work toward the common goal of delivering effective policies that make cigarettes a historical artifact, a museum piece collecting dust behind glass cases.
Wow.
The global market for nicotine pouch makers is projected to soar from about $2 billion in 2022 to as much as $17.6 billion by 2029.
Insane numbers.
Alternative nicotine products represent an existential lifeline to big tobacco, offering a gradual sales shift from cigarettes to what they say are less harmful products. Despite growing snus use, Sweden boasts the lowest tobacco-related cancer rates for European men. And in 2019, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration declared 8 varieties of Swedish Match snus less risky than cigarettes. The regulator said use of such smokeless tobacco products poses lower risks of cancer.
It's better for you.
Still, nicotine is highly addictive. It can elevate blood pressure, contribute to cardiovascular diseases, and aggravate heart issues and other health problems.
Of course, I'm mostly worried about that we're now seeing a whole new generation of nicotine addicts.
I thought it looked good, and I wanted to try. I just kept going and going and going. And it's hard to stop. I'm kind of stuck.
It's
They
addictive.
bought into the tobacco industry story about snus as a smoke cessation product.
Kagström instead attributes Sweden's low smoking rates to restrictions put in place in the 1990s.
Sweden was one of the first countries to introduce smoke-free workplaces and introduced age limit on buying cigarettes and tobacco products. And these are measures that have been proven effective in reducing smoking in Sweden.
Yeah.
With a flurry of new nicotine products entering the market, it is key for governments to get a handle on best practices and policies.
We're not there yet, and we see inequalities in terms of smoking rates depending on your level of income and education. So we still have a lot more to do before becoming a smoke-free country.
This is Morton.
Okay, yeah. So I think I'm on two minds about this. It's like, yeah, on one hand, it's like, yes, it's good that they're like Swedish people are smoking less, but it's like with sort of like a caveat, like if out of context, if you just like saw sort of like the chart and the numbers of like, oh, only like I think it was like 5% of Swedish people smoke compared to like, I don't know, the insane rates of like Greece and I think it was Italy. So it is, you see it like that and you're like, wow, crazy like how they did it. But it's like, well, yeah, but they just like switched it around for something else. I think it can, I think it's just, you know, sort of like nicotine in a different font. You know, it's just like it's cigarettes in a different font. Because it is also, I think like snuff or vapes, which I think are more popular in other places, are basically, okay, it's the same thing. It's like, it's nicotine. I think it's seen as safer, both stuff like the vapes and this snuff product, which I think they're pretty like similar just because of the, you know, they have like different flavors. It was like apple, whatever, like green apple or blackberry, raspberry, delight. I don't know. So it is, you know, you see it like that and it's all packaged in like in a very nice way and they have like a little, you know, it's all like fruit flavored or like mint, you know, it sounds attractive and it's just, you know, a little, like to do a little package. And this goes with, again, with like with snuff and snuff and also like vapes. It's like you see it and it's sort of like harmless, like I think usually you've been taught as a child, you know, the cigarette is like, oh, it's a bad thing. And, you know, you see like a cigarette and it's like, oh, you shouldn't smoke because it's bad for you and whatever. Some even had like the little, like on the back of like on the pack of cigarettes, they had the little, like, you know, the picture of like the lung that's just like rotten. So it is, you know, compared to that and you compare to this, it's like, oh, well, but this is harmful. Yeah, this is less harmful and it's harmless because it's just like a product that almost looks like candy, like with the whole sort of like flavored whatever. And, you know, the package is nice and it looks like a pack of like mints. And it's like, oh yeah, sure. Like it's, you know, this is not doing me any damage, any harm, which I think even also, I don't know how it is in Europe, but I think usually obviously in other places, you know, she mentioned having like age restrictions, but I think, I don't know if that's the case in Sweden, but I think a lot of places in Europe and I look at in a lot of countries, like they don't really care like about like teens smoking. Like I mean the parents, not the society, but I think a lot of parents do not really care that much about their teen kids smoking. Like it's seen as something because they did it as well. So it is like it's not seen as a big deal if maybe like a 16-year-old is smoking, at least sometimes. And I'm not saying always, but sometimes. In other places that would definitely frowned upon. Like, no, my teen, I just like, you know, you're a teenager, you can't smoke. Like if you are choosing what you choose to put on your body, like wait till you're 18 or 21 until like you can do that. But I think as a parent, people are less like, oh no, you shouldn't do this. But with vapes and I probably with this nuts, I think it's been sort of like a switch because I think again, I don't know if it's the parents or it's the actual teens themselves or the people themselves. They're more like, oh well, but this is not a cigarette, so it's fine. So I'll get this for my child, or my, well, child doesn't like a teenager. Or if your teen comes home with like a nuts, it's like, oh, well, it's not a cigarette. So, you know, I'm not doing anything, like it's fine, whatever. So I think, again, and it's same with vapes, because it's sort of like, again, it's the whole, like, I don't know if it's marketing or it's just like the whole sort of like preconception of like, oh, it's not that bad. So that, well, when the alternative is having cigarettes, like this is better. And if you are an adult that had that, oh, I've been a smoker for 20 years, 15 years, whatever, and then you see this, it's like, oh, but again, this is probably like less harmful to me, and I'm getting the nicotine without the actual damages or the actual, you know, the risks, I think, that are involved with smoking. So it is seen again as like the better alternative, which I think the jury's still out, and they mentioned like, well, there are some studies that show like, yes, it's still nicotine, and nicotine is bad for you, but I don't really know if like, is it really that bad for you as in like the actual nicotine, as in the actual substance? Is it bad for your body, or is the act of smoking, because of like it gets in your lungs and that's how you get emphysema, or you get like lung cancer or a bunch of other diseases, and also like you get increased risk of like heart attacks or a bunch of other stuff. But is it the nicotine, or again, is it the actual act of smoking? Because if it's if the problem is the smoking, then it's like, well, yeah, sure, like get that, get the snus, get the vapes, get whatever, because it's a way of like people, if you're I don't know, like addicted. Maybe if you're already, because if you're already there, like again, if you have been a smoker for a long time, it's really hard to quit because of course you're addicted. So it's like, well, I'm switching to this. It's less harmful. But if you're starting at, like the kid said, like I think it was 21, and he was like, yes, I can't stop right now. So it's like, I think that's the bad part, because if you already are a smoker and this is better, it's like, well, yeah, it's not like super healthy, but at least it's better than the alternative. So it's okay. At least I'm like lowering my chances of bad things happening to me, because I'm already addicted. But if you're someone that doesn't smoke and then you're like getting into this, then it's like, well, why would you do this to yourself, right? Because it's still like, if you're perfectly healthy, and like, why would you start like not smoking? Why would you start using, I don't really know how the right term, consuming snus. So it is a little bit of I don't know, like it creates an addiction. I think that's where the nicotine part comes in, is because nicotine is addictive. So whether or not that, yes, it's harmful, the act of smoking, but if it's just the nicotine, like they mentioned as well, like the nicotine patches, like, yes, the problem is the nicotine, because it's a substance that's highly addictive. So why would you do this to yourself? Like, yeah, great, you're not smoking, as in you're not smoking, but you're doing harmful things to your body, and you're increasing your risk for getting like a lot of diseases in the future. So it is like, again, I don't know how to feel about that, but I think, in a perfect probably world, well, I don't know, like, because it's a coping mechanism, and I was about to say like, oh, well, in a perfect world, like no one would use any of this, like no one would smoke, because no one would have to like turn to like vapes, snus, or smoking or other substances. But it's the same like with alcohol probably as well. Like a lot of people have alcohol issues, and because it's a coping mechanism. So if it's not nicotine, it's alcohol. But sometimes it's not alcohol. So sometimes it's something else, like I don't know, gambling, or I don't know, food. I don't know. There's like so many types of addiction that, again, it's like you would have to like get all like, oh, it's a psychological study, and see like why, coping mechanisms and psychological studies. So it is kind of like, yeah, you have to have something. But I think there's like, maybe ask people why they smoke. Is it the act of actually like having something in your hand, and I don't know, the process of like rolling your cigarettes, if you're someone that like rolls their cigarettes, or if it's something of like the rush that the nicotine in your system like makes you feel, like, is it about that? And I think once you figure it out, like what exactly is that you like about smoking, and maybe you can like turn it around and say, okay, well, if it's actually the nicotine because I like, how it, like the substances and how they interact with my brain, well, yeah, maybe snus it would be a good thing for you. But yeah, I think again, that goes with like you already like being a smoker, because if you're starting out, then it's like, why would you do that? Like, you don't want any more addictions. Like, you already have enough problems. It's like, I don't want to add another problem into my life of like getting addicted to this in the future, which I think it's a problem. So maybe that should be regulated, and that's where the problem comes in. Because seeing them like, oh, they have like an actual store, that's crazy. It looks like a candy store. But also I know that there's like vape stores are super popular. I don't know if in Sweden, but in other places, again, it's like super popular. So maybe I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of shocking to me, and I'm seeing it like that. But again, so it's because I also like associate snus with something out of like the 1800s and like the 1900s. So like, isn't that something that old people did back in the day? I wasn't aware that now they have like flavors. So it's now, I know, now it's super modern. It's like looking, and again, it's like a vape. So it's like, oh yeah, if I see it like that, it's not that weird. But seeing like the store, it's like, wow, and do they have like an age restriction or something? But yeah, maybe again, if it's getting out of hand, I think yes, probably in the future, this is about to be regulated. Or if they do more studies and they show no, this is actually quite bad for your health, maybe as much as nicotine, as much as like cigarettes. So the jury's still out. But that's it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.